Hello everyone, this is Mike from Centritattoo Machines, along with the new Centri HallFX. It's the same family member as the Centri Signetic machines that run off the digital signal, except this machine will basically run off its own movement. The Hall sensor, which is this little guy here, it will pick up the movement of the center magnet when we apply voltage. Basically, the system is on already before we even turn it on, in a sense. So when we apply voltage, the coil will pull the magnet down. The sensor will sense the movement in the magnet, shutting the system off. Now, people who have my machines, they know how our 3-magnet system works. Basically, if it's pulled down and you shut it off, it's going to force the magnet back up in a springing motion. So when that happens, it comes back up, the sensor will receive it coming back up and shut the system back on. Pulling it back down, shutting the system off, releasing it, coming back on, over and over and over again, depending on how you like to run your machine. But that's how the HallFX works. There's no generator, no extra components you need, you just need to buy the machine. Now, the one thing about this is this machine is more like an actual traditional coil than the actual other Signetics, because we're utilizing, and we're waiting for movement from an armature bar. When the armature bar is touching the contact screw, it pulls down and it comes to a point to where it's no longer touching the contact screw, and it releases energy and comes back until it hits the contact screw again, over and over and over again. Well, this is your contact screw, the sensor. And we all know that you want to have your screw kind of just right in the right spot with the right tension in your springs to get the nice smooth running machine. Well, this is able to adjust the sensor. This little dial right here. I can just turn it with my thumb and you can see it kind of rolling down its little window that it has there. Key to this though is to always have your sensor starting up towards closest to the dial. When you first get your machine the very first time, pull it back, and you'll notice when we apply power, you have a light, but it's not doing anything. Because right now, you'll notice the magnet's already down here. It's kind of past the sensor already. The sensor can't even see that it's down here, in a sense. The system, you can see the electronics up in here, they're not even on because the system is off. The light is on because that's wired directly to the cord, just like how this is on. So, once you put in a cartridge, this has tension in it also. This would be like if I was to add extra strength to this magnet here, making this magnet all of a sudden become stronger, pushing this magnet up, is what this is going to do when you insert it. Just because of the tension. So it already wants to come on as soon as I put it in. It pushed that magnet right up to where the sensor can see it. Oh, see, I can pause it, but that's good. This is where I want you to. I want you to get it to run, but then stop. You'll notice that my sensor is on this side of the magnet, and that's where you want to start it, because you want to slowly bring it down. And that's where you're going to want to be. The reason is because if you look down here, you see my amps, my duty, you see my voltage and my hertz. But the amps is what's important. If I was to, let's pull it back till we can install it again. If I was to bring this sensor too far down while it's running, if I just keep going, it will kick on. But if I keep bringing it down, you'll notice that the amps are going to go up high. So let's try that. Let's keep going a little bit more. Oh, there's 0.82, 0.9, 0.1, and it doesn't even want to run that low. I got to bring it back up. But you don't want to be up that high, okay? You want to basically be right where it kicks in from bringing the sensor in this direction. Right there. Keeps us at pretty much 0.7. Loosen up your tension and then your adjuster, and you can actually see the hertz going up. because I'm closing the gap on the magnet, meaning the magnet can only have a smaller space to travel back and forth, meaning it would travel faster from point A to point B. You make more room, you can see the hertz drop, and you can see the machine's running slower. But obviously doing that, I am moving that center magnet's home position, meaning home from where the sensor originally picks it up from. So if you do like it at 104 or 105, however fast or big of a stroke you want, lock it in, and I always suggest pulling the sensor back out to where you can kind of stop it. Bring it in, and that's where you're going to run. Everything I can hit. Same with the signetics also. You want to, when you line up your stroke and your needle, you want to have the needle kind of just barely sitting out. Even that's kind of far. Let me close out the thing. By the way, this is how you adjust your cart. Turning it will push it forward. Turning this way will pull it back in. Okay, that's all this wheel does. And this screw here, it used to be just a little small set screw up in there, but I put a bigger one so that the set screw would strip out if you use it too much. Put a bigger one here, but you basically unscrew this and this hole comes out. If you want to clean it, get all up in there, it just slides right out. But normally when you first not run the machine, you want to have your needle kind of sticking out just a hair. You can see right there. Because the system itself pulls down and goes up and comes down and goes up, but stops in the center. We have to account also, this is part of the stroke, this part is coming back here. Because when it's running, if you look at the tip of the cart, you'll see the tip of the needle going way past up into the cart and then back out again and then stopping in the center where the tip of the cart stops. Basically right there. A lot of people want to start with their needles way back here and they're wondering why they can't get a stroke. But all the stroke is way back here and still coming out a bit, but not as far as it needs to go past the actual cartridge. So when you're lining it up, line it just like that. You'll be good to go. I suggest for voltage between 5 and 6 volts. You don't want to even go too high. You can see this thing's already kind of hauling ass, but 6 volts, I'm really creeping already at 0.8 of an amp. The closer we get to 1 amp, the hotter the system will get over time. So best thing to do is not run the machine constantly. Use your flip switch or whatever, and try not to run if you need to at high voltage. I mean, because literally I could take this up to 7 volts, and if I adjust my sensor just right, I can bring it to where my amps are pretty low. And this thing's hauling ass. But you really have to get familiar with this sensor and that, and knowing where your amps are with that to bring the machine this high. And at this high, it's fucking hauling ass. I hope you don't really tattoo people that high, but it can go that high. It can go even higher as long as you're always putting the sensor exactly where you want to get a low amp signal. Otherwise, if I start bringing this bad boy forward at 7 volts, oh yeah, look at the amps. This coil will get really hot really quick. Okay? But don't even go this high until you're actually comfortable with this machine. I don't think you ever need to go this high, to be honest. I tattoo pretty much right around here. And I'm going to move this because I'm a little too low on the amp right there. And that's about it for the HallFX. This is all plastic. The internal is plastic. The coil is obviously metal. There's a huge metal yoke here. The cart receiver is metal. All of this is metal. I suggest not dropping it. If you drop it, most chances are you will be sending it back to me to get a new housing. Because we all have hard tile floors, I assume. Get an angle of the reflection of the needle going up the cartridge, but see if I can get this thing to do a tight. And maybe four. No, there we go. It's hard to see when I'm in the damn camera. Maybe 5. This thing is so perfect for a liner. Would be like for a single. It's soft, fast, and punchy though, at the same time. I'm gonna say pretty much don't back this out. Also, if you see that magnet already starting to get close to this housing, you don't want to back out the screw any farther than that. It's not going to go any farther than that. But if you can see right here, it's pretty much all the way. I'm going to move this actually all the way towards the back. 93 hertz, but this stroke is huge. That's like a 5mm stroke. You want to do those dotted lines all day long? Cartridges also, you can put it in from either direction. This direction or from this direction. Don't matter. You just basically always want to have your little window area lined up with what I call the center line of the machine. Otherwise it's just going to pop out. And you can actually run it upside down too if you wanted to. I don't know how that would feel, but now, if you can find a company that has carts that are all consistently, like intention-wise, once you have this all set, that's it. You can just use your carts. As long as the tension in here is just always, pretty much the same. Don't use the rubber bands. But get one, you know, if you can find one that has the same tension in there, this should always line up the same. They're going to be good to go. The only thing is you can never find a brand that even solders the same length, because you constantly have to either pull this back or move it forward for one of the needle hangs being way off, you know. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have to engineer these twist grips and shit. They would just get their soldering right. Other than that, you guys should be good to go. I hope this video was helpful, getting your machine going right out of the gate. Of course, bag, wrap. Make sure you pretty much wrap that whole area. You don't have to wrap up in here, but the bag can still be loose up in here, and you can still, over the bag, control all of this if you need to. But I would suggest just lining that up with a brand of cart that you like to use. Say you're going to use this for a liner. Open up a liner that you already have, set it in there, get it running, set it up, and be done with it. That way every time you want to use a liner or whatever, you plug it in and it'll be on the mark. Just remember to keep the voltage low, 5.5, 5 to 6, and if you got to venture into 7, you better know what you're doing with that sensor, or at least have a readout so that you can see where you are with the amps. You do not want the machine to get over hot. Also, people who pre-ordered says this looks different than the one they got on their website. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I had to put my logo on there. Didn't even think about it until I got to this point. Hope everybody enjoys their machines. Thank you for watching.